Now, speaking of a game that may or may not deserve praise, Cyberpunk. We talked about the rumors about box art showing up in the PSN, and then there was some Xbox stuff. Well, the next gen version of Cyberpunk 2077 for PS5 and Xbox Series X and S dropped this week.
Ooh.
And what's cool about Xbox is they're giving you a free trial of 5 hours of gameplay, which I did that trial this week on my Xbox Series X. And it sucks because I got a really funny video. I was like, I'm going to TikTok this. This is so funny. There was a guy in a shootout that was playing peekaboo with me. It was really funny. Like he kept peeking out and then ducking back and then peeking out and then ducking back. And he just kept doing it rhythmically. And then like finally he popped out, and at the end I was like peekaboo and hit him with a shotgun. And I was like, yay. And I went to hit the share button, and then the screen went black. And I'm like, oh, is this a glitch? Because on the original PS4 version, I think every hour and a half or so it would just tank. And I was like, is this
Wow.
and then it was just like, you're done playing, your trial is over. I was like, y'all couldn't even warn me, let me
Right.
save the game. What the hell? Like they just cut you off. So you got to keep track of your time. Like every time I booted it up from quick resume or went back out of the menu and back into the game, it would say, you have less than 5 hours left. You have less than 4 hours left. You have less than 75 minutes. But then when it actually happens, they don't warn you. They don't give you like a 60-second or a 5-minute warning. They just cut you off. So be warned.
Wow.
That said, I was looking for glitches, and this is interesting. I only noticed one glitch when I was playing on Xbox Series X, and it's very early on in the game. You meet up with Jackie, and you go to drive to your Ripper dock, and they make you park in a particular spot. And when I got out of the car, I looked over. Jackie stood up inside the car, like he was clipping through the car onto the ground, and then walked through the car like it wasn't there to the other side. I was like,
Nice.
huh, interesting. But other than that, I didn't have any glitches. And I didn't go super deep into the game. I was just dicking around for 5 hours. I was death noting, is what Tim Rogers calls it. It's where, like, from a block away, you see bad guys and you just use netrunner attacks and they just drop without ever,
Mhm.
engaging in battle, which I just think is funny. But yeah, that was it for that. And then I started the PS5 version today. And this is kind of cool. The PS4 version that I have, you have an installation disc and then a play disc. And I had already deleted Cyberpunk from my PlayStation 5, like after I beat it originally. So I didn't have it downloaded. And I was like, oh, am I going to download it and then get it upgraded? I just popped in the play disc and I went to the upgrade screen, and it just downloaded the PS5 version to my PS5. I didn't have to actually download the full original PS4 version, which was
Oh, that's
nice.
cool.
Yeah, it was
That's
nice.
nice.
Yeah, it was like about 56 gigs on both systems, give or take. I don't know if it was exactly the same size, but it was around that size. I think it might have been like 60 something maybe on what's interesting though, the size of Cyberpunk on the PS4, like if you were to get it on a PS4, is higher than the PS5, which I thought
Mm.
was interesting by like 10 gigs or so, something silly. I was like, that is weird. And that was notable. And then when I was playing the PS5 version, there was a glitch where in the first mission where you go to rescue that lady who got kidnapped for her organs or whatever, when the area goes hostile and it warns you in the mini map that the area is hostile, that warning just stayed up. After we left, we drove home. I woke up the next day. It was just on my screen for a
Made
while.
our
And then eventually,
breakfast.
yeah, like this is a hostile ass breakfast, y'all. But eventually it went away. And then what I thought was interesting, I wonder if I could recreate the glitch I had on Xbox Series X. So I went to the Ripper dock, as I was instructed. And sure enough, Jackie stands up in the middle of the car and walks right through it. I was like, what? No
That
way.
was the one
So
they
you
missed.
get your glitches on all the systems. Don't even worry about it. Overall, the PS5 was a bit more glitchy. It wasn't near as bad or noticeable as obviously my original time playing, but there would just be little things like that every once in a while. But the PS5 version also looked better and had more robust HDR settings, which was odd. I don't know why the Series X didn't. Maybe
Mm.
something to do with my trial edition. I don't know. It was weird.
Mm.
Loading wasn't terribly bad. Loading a save took, in between 10 and 14 seconds, which isn't too bad. The game, looks good. I played both versions in performance mode, so I didn't really get the effect of all the ray tracing and everything. but the game is a good looking game. And while it's not near what they promised in E3 showings and those like guided demos and this and that and the other, I think that was part of my disappointment was all these gameplay features that they said were going to be in the game that weren't. They basically watchdogged us, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But the game that is there is solid. It is fun. Way too many trinkets to pick up. You know what I mean? I kind of hate that because I can't not pick junk up.
Yeah.
If you're one of those people, you got to try to get into a headspace where you're not picking up everything that you see on the ground. But the stories are still interesting and some of the most varied NPCs I've ever seen in an open world game. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
they added kids in. I don't think they had kids in the
Oh,
original
little
version.
babies.
Yeah, there's kids walking around. Maybe there were kids walking around in the older version. The only time I remember seeing children, and I thought this was so weird, there is a side mission where this guy will just come running out of this building without his pants, and he's like grabbing his dick, and he's like, "Ah, it's on fire! Ah!" And he like makes you drive him to the nearest Ripper dock because apparently he had some kind of penis augmentation that was ripping his penis apart. And, and he's like, "My dick, it's on fire!" I think it's called Crotch of Fire or something. And he's screaming, and everything in the world is stopping you from getting to this Ripper dock. Like trucks are getting in your way purposefully. And at one point, there's a school crossing, and a bunch of kids have to cross the road, and you have to like slam on your
Mm,
brakes. Only time in the original game that I saw kids. And they took those kids they modeled, I guess, and put them throughout the city. So cool.
okay. I'm gonna have to play it now just for that.
I think the new update, they heavily re-optimized the whole civilians because the few videos I've seen, they've like extensively watched civilians and how they react, and you can actually get crowds of civilians running in directions and stuff. So it's like they definitely improved the civilians in that game.
I wasn't specifically paying attention to it, but I can attest that that was the overall vibe. So what you're saying right now, Aethodis, that tracks. It just felt more lived in, and it felt like the civilians were less wonky because I would see them doing a lot of weird and wacky shit in the original one. The AI was a little off, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
But no, I mean, again, I haven't had a chance to play a ton. I played 5 hours of the Series X version. I probably played another 5 in PS5 today, just trying to get like an even kind of comparison. Obviously, PS5 is my version, it's the one I own. So that's the one I'm going to continue to play. And while it seems like it's slightly glitchier, not by much, it also does seem to be better graphically, at least in my opinion, just from my naked eye. Again, there's comparison videos out there that can probably show you what is the superior version if there is one. But honestly, the difference is probably not so noticeable that one is clearly superior. If you have one system or the other, or if you have the PC to run it, you're probably fine. If you have the PC to run it, you're probably not worried about all this because you've been fine for a while after like, so many patches.